What is going on, beautiful people, and welcome back to the channel. As you can tell from the title of this video, this is a little bit of a different video than what I usually do on the channel, just like I said with the mock draft. But today I'm going to be reviewing the Tennessee Titans 2021 NFL Draft. But before we get into that, if you guys enjoy franchise content from games like Madden NFL 21 and MLB The Show 21, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, hit the like button on the video for more videos like this, and turn your notifications on to join the notification gang. That way every time I upload a video, you guys will be notified. And also, if you enjoy Twitch streams, I actually stream on Twitch as well, which is where the content you're seeing on the screen right now is from. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/CazCray. I stream there at least twice a week, usually 3 times, but with my work schedule, I just don't know when exactly I'll be able to work, so I don't really have a set schedule as of right now. But generally I stream Monday nights, Wednesday nights, and Thursday nights, although I've been experimenting with some afternoons recently. But let's get into this video anyways. So with the first pick at number 22 for the Titans, they picked up Caleb Farley, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech. Now, with Adoree Jackson and Malcolm Butler both being released due to cap issues, cornerback was a pretty big need for the Titans. And I'm going to admit that on stream, I was kind of disappointed with the pick just because of Farley's injury history. Obviously, in 2017, he tore his ACL, and 2019, he actually got a herniated disc, and I believe from weightlifting, and he ended up missing 2 games because of that, and then he had to get surgery. So apparently a lot of people are very concerned about his back injury, but honestly the good really outweighs the bad with him if the injury history doesn't end up being a big issue. Now obviously there are guys who have definitely been injured in college who haven't really had the same issues in the NFL, and vice versa, of course. But you look at the pros, I mean, this man is an absolute monster in man coverage, very physically talented, and he's very confident in coverage. He doesn't really get rattled very much. And overall, at 6'2", 197, that's honestly really good size for a corner. But the cons, of course, are the injury history. And in zone coverage, he could be a bit better. He's not awful, but he could be a bit better in zone coverage. And if he stays healthy, I really feel like he can be one of the better corners in the league, but that's a big if. Those medical red flags are definitely very much valid. And are the Titans going to regret not taking Elijah Moore or Rashad Bateman? We'll have to see. At first, again, I wasn't very fond of this pick, but looking back on it, the Titans definitely needed help at corner, and they get it in the form of Caleb Farley. Hopefully he'll be able to stay healthy, knock on wood, and we'll just see how it pans out. So in the second round at pick number 53, this is a pick that a lot of people criticized at first. Dillon, I saw a lot of people criticizing this pick on Twitter. Dillon Radunz, the offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. He mainly played left tackle, so he was blocking the flank for Trey Lance, not this past year, but in past years, of course. But honestly, he could probably translate very well at right tackle. He's excellent in the running game, so you needed the guy to open up space for Derrick Henry. This is your man. 6'5 and a half, 304 pounds. He's very good size, and he can actually add muscle onto his frame as well. And he's just an absolute mauler. I mean, him and Nate Davis are going to be doing numbers in the run game if he develops properly. But the big question with him is, can he play right tackle? Can he translate his game to right tackle? I've also heard that his practice habits are somewhat questionable, and he could also improve when getting into the next level. I mean, he does pretty good at sealing the edge, but just getting after the linebackers is going to be a question. Overall, I think that even in his first year, Radunz could definitely beat out Ty Sambrailo and Kendall Lamb for the right tackle job. But again, it's a big question mark. Will he be able to make up for the Isaiah Wilson whiff last year? And can he translate to right tackle? Now, I mean, if he doesn't do well at right tackle, Tennessee could move him to left tackle instead after this year if they decide to part ways with Taylor Lewan. Lewan's owed almost $13 million next year, and the Titans could actually clear up cap space by trading or cutting him. So we'll have to see. But after seeing some film on him, I really like Dillon Radunz. I think he could be a good fit at right tackle. He could be a good replacement for Dennis Kelly, who was another cap casualty. and we'll just have to see how he translates to right tackle. So now we go to the third round, and the Titans actually traded back with the Packers and got the 92nd pick and 135 as well in the fourth. But with pick 92 in the third round, they got Monty Rice, the linebacker out of Georgia. And a lot of people are very critical of how much he hangs out with Isaiah Wilson, apparently. I haven't really seen much on that at all. What I will say is the company that you keep does say a lot about you, but I also don't think we can just cancel him just because he hangs out with Isaiah Wilson. He could be a completely different person from him, if we're being completely honest. But let's look at him as a prospect. His athleticism's pretty solid. He's pretty good in coverage against running backs. And overall, he's pretty instinctive. I mean, he's not the tallest guy in the world, not the biggest linebacker in the world, but he's instinctive and he flies around. Now the cons on him are, as I mentioned, his height. 6 feet isn't great for a linebacker. He doesn't do a great job of getting off blocks at times. And if we're being honest, he's more of a 4-3 linebacker. Maybe he can translate to a 3-4. He's more of an interior guy, so we'll have to see. And overall, there were better linebackers who were available, at least on paper. Baron Browning and Jabril Cox are still here at pick 92. So it's kind of a head scratcher that Tennessee didn't take one of those guys. And again, you know, I know people are somewhat concerned about the Isaiah Wilson thing, hanging out with his college teammate, but that's a bit of a non-starter for me, to be completely honest. But we'll just have to see if it ends up like causing any issues, but I don't think it will. Overall, I don't really see him doing much more than special teams in 2021, maybe being a spot starter in case of injuries. Knock on wood that we don't have any injuries at inside linebacker. But with Rashad Evans and Jayon Brown both possibly leaving the team after this year, maybe he could end up being the starter in 2022. We'll have to see how he develops, though. And then with the second pick in the third round at pick 100, the Titans picked up Elijah Molden out of Washington. He's another cornerback, so Tennessee double dipped in the first 3 rounds at corner. Of course, getting Farley in the first round, now getting Molden, who has some NFL pedigree. His father was Alex Molden, who played in the NFL. And Molden is pretty instinctual, and he fits very well as a nickel corner overall. Problems with him are he's just a bit undersized at 5'9", 192. And for his size, his speed isn't very good either. And he's not a great open field tackler either. But he plays very well in the nickel. And with Desmond King being gone now, I think he's a great replacement for him. I mean, Tennessee's going to be really young at corner outside of Jackrabbit. Obviously, they have Christian Fulton from last year when they picked him in the second round. Now they have Farley and Molden, as well as Breon Borders. So pretty young cornerback room. But I think Molden could end up being the nickel out of these guys. I mean, he's definitely going to push Christian Fulton for that spot. I've heard a lot of good things about Molden. I didn't really get to watch much outside of a little bit of film before recording this, but he seems pretty instinctual for a corner, and I think he could develop into a solid nickel for Tennessee. So now we go to the fourth round, day 3, and the Titans actually traded up to draft Dez Fitzpatrick out of Louisville. So they finally get a wide receiver, and this one's a bit of a head scratcher, to be completely honest, because a lot of people had him projected in the 7th round or as an undrafted free agent, and there were probably better, more well-known wide receivers here. Well, they definitely were, in Shi Smith out of South Carolina, Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State, and Amon-Ra St. Brown out of USC. I mean, these are all guys that Tennessee probably could have picked over him. But that being said, Dez Fitzpatrick has pretty good ball skills. And at 6'2", 208, that's pretty solid size for a receiver as well. And he's very physical when it comes to catching the football. However, the problems with him are his catch radius isn't great, and his athleticism for his size isn't very good either. And he's more of just a deep threat. That's kind of what his niche is. And Tennessee already has their deep threat in A.J. Brown, but I guess you can't have too many deep threats on your team now, can you? But I'd like to see him develop a little bit more as far as his route running is concerned, both short and intermediate. But he definitely has potential to be a pretty good receiver for the Titans, but I don't really see him being more than the 3rd or 4th receiver on the depth chart, and he'll probably be behind Josh Reynolds barring a trade, he'll probably be number 3. I mean, maybe Tennessee's thinking about trading for Julio, and that's why they waited until the 4th round to get a receiver. But that being said, I just didn't like that Tennessee traded up for him. I think if they were going to trade up for somebody, it probably should have been Amon-Ra St. Brown or even Shi Smith. But hopefully Dez develops into being a pretty solid receiver in the NFL. I mean, he definitely had a lot of big plays at Louisville, so we'll just have to see how that translates to the NFL. So now at pick 135, which is the second pick they got in the trade with the Packers, the Titans pick up Rashad Weaver, the edge rusher out of Pittsburgh. This man is an absolute disruptor as a pass rusher, and he has very good size for an edge rusher as well at 6'5", 259, and a very high motor, and had a huge bounce back season last year after tearing his ACL before the 2019 season, missing that whole year. He had 7.5 sacks last year in 9 games. Now, the problems with him are he, of course, tore his ACL in 2019. That's still something that should concern Tennessee a little bit. I'm also not too fond of him standing up out of his stance as soon as the ball snaps. Sometimes he does that a little too much. And he just has to play with a little more balance in the pass rush. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to get to the quarterback very well at the next level. A lot of tackles are going to be able to get hip to like what he does as far as like pass rushing moves and just like not having a solid base. But I think he'll be a rotational pass rusher for this season behind Harold Landry and Bud Dupree, but he could develop into a starter. I think that he absolutely can end up being a starter in the NFL as long as his injury issues don't flare up again, and as long as he's able to develop himself into being a little bit more balanced. I think he has all the tools to be a very good pass rusher in the NFL, but we'll have to see. So now we go to round number 6, and the Titans pick Racey McMath at 205, the wide receiver at LSU. And if you thought the Dez Fitzpatrick pick was a head scratcher, I mean, this one is a huge one. Now, he has good physical traits. He has very good size at 6'2", 211. His speed is amazing as well. But the big issues with him are his lack of production. In 4 years at LSU, he had 49 targets, 33 catches, 522 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's in 4 years, and that's all like spread out through those 4 years. He didn't really get to start until last year either, and he gets off the line of scrimmage very slowly, especially on running plays, which kind of just gives up the fact that he's not going to be involved with the play, and that's probably not a great attitude to have as a receiver, especially when you haven't put up much production at all. And his route running is absolutely poor. He has to get better as a route runner if he wants to contribute. And honestly, he looks the part. He just has to develop his skills and develop his fundamentals. And I think overall, he possibly can be a number 4 receiver for this team. But with guys like Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chester Rogers, and Cameron Batson, who've all gotten NFL game experience, I just don't see him beating those guys out. I think if he makes the team, he'll be more of a special teamer. I mean, he was a big special teams ace at LSU, so I mean, that could be his new role in Tennessee this year. We'll have to see, but I'm not liking him very much as a receiver, and I feel like this is somebody that Tennessee probably could have got as a UDFA. So now for the Titans' final pick in the 2021 draft. They ended up drafting Brady Breeze, the safety out of Oregon. And honestly, at this point in the draft, I like the pick of Breeze a whole lot. Obviously, with Kenny Vaccaro being gone, Tennessee could use a little bit more depth at safety. Amani Hooker's probably going to be the starter at strong safety, so I don't think Breeze is going to challenge him for that, but this is a pretty good pick for a few reasons. I mean, he's an absolutely explosive tackler, and he's pretty good at playing the underneath zone, like the hook to curl and all that. And he can play special teams as well, which is a huge plus for a guy who probably isn't going to start at safety this year. Now, the cons are that he's very small for a safety at 6 foot, 197. His one-on-one coverage isn't very good. With a lot of taller tight ends, he's not going to be able to keep up with them or beat them out for passes. And his change of direction isn't very good either. Overall, I think Breeze is going to be a special teamer this year if he makes the team. So overall, looking at the draft, looking at the positives first, If Farley is able to stay healthy, I think that's going to be a beautiful corner tandem in a few years between him, Christian Fulton, and Elijah Molden. Now, Dillon Radunz definitely looks like he'd be the starter at right tackle for years to come if he's able to translate. And Elijah Molden and Rashad Weaver can turn into huge steals if they develop properly. Then again, you can say that about any draft pick at any point in the draft, but you know what I mean though. Now the negatives: Tennessee didn't take a receiver until the 4th round, and they did not take a tight end. Do they have confidence in Anthony Firkser being the tight end? Could Tennessee trade for Julio Jones or even David Njoku as well? Those are definitely possibilities. And then Monty Rice and Dez Fitzpatrick were probably not the best players available at their positions when they were taken. Obviously, in Monty Rice's case, Baron Browning and Jabril Cox were there. And then with Fitzpatrick, you could have got Amon-Ra St. Brown or Tylan Wallace or Shi Smith there. And can Dillon Radunz adjust to playing right tackle? Of course, he played left tackle at North Dakota State, but can he translate to the right side? We'll have to see. And are Caleb Farley's medicals going to end up manifesting in the NFL? I sure hope not. I hope that he has a great career, obviously. I hope Tennessee is able to have a bounce back draft after a really poor 2020 draft. But we'll just have to see. Overall, I'm going to give Tennessee's draft a B. It would be a little bit lower, except I think that there's a high reward for all the risks that they took in this draft, and we'll just have to see. And it'd be a little bit higher if Tennessee actually ended up getting a receiver a little earlier or a tight end at all, especially when they had Brevin Jordan at one point. Late in the 3rd round, they could have made that pick for him, but unfortunately they didn't do so, so I'll give it a B. Now, let me know in the comment section what you thought of the Titans draft, or if you're not even a Titans fan and you want to talk about your team in the comment section, then let me know how you feel about your team's draft as well. And once again, make sure you guys hit that like button for more content like this. Hit the sub button if you're new to the channel, and turn your notifications on to join the notification gang. That way, every time I upload a video, you guys will be notified. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitch as well to check out more content like what you're seeing on the screen right now. And we're going to keep this mofo rolling here on Cray Gaming. And if you want to see more from the channel, check out the playlist in front of you.